over?
Me.
You're the finance person.
All right, welcome in, y'all, to this amazing deep dive with two incredible humans. I am so excited that we get to do this because I've seen your journey, you guys, for the past few years as you've done this. I'm so excited to kind of hear the behind the scenes story of it as we dive into today's, like, hey, what does it look like to really implement strong financial principles in a coaching business? And we've got Javi and Marissa Carlin, who just got married, by the way. Congrats, y'all. And are both full-time now in their coaching business. I want to hear, how have you guys managed to make the transition from working in jobs to being full-time in a coaching business? We'll talk through, hey, what was difficult early on, kind of financially managing it? What do you feel like you've figured out that's gotten you to the point that you're at? And what's working now in your business that you would tell someone who's earlier on in their coaching realm, maybe not early on, but they just don't feel like they've figured out the finances of it? We're going to dive into all that today. Thank you both so much for taking time to be here. Really appreciate it, because I know you're super busy. But I guess I would love to hear, give us the gist of your business. Who is it that you help, and kind of how do you serve people?
Yeah. And Alex, thank you so much for having us here. First and foremost, I think we've known each other now for 4 or 5 years. It's insane. It's insane. And just being a part of your life, everything that you've done as well has been absolutely amazing. And you've helped us so much on this journey, not just with finances, but even before then. So I just want to say thank you for that. And so to answer your question, so right now we're helping dietitians and nutrition coaches. And what we help them do first and foremost is help them replace their income so they can also escape the 9-to-5. And we help them at that level first. And then from there, we help them scale up to 6 figures and beyond. And so that's what we're working on now. It's been, I think, over a year and a half now since we've been doing it full time. And it's been a fun ride.
Oh, so a year and a half. I can't believe that, you guys. That's incredible. Yeah. So give me the backstory. You were both working individually as in the healthcare world. Marissa, maybe you can give us the backstory of, like, what were you guys doing before you got full-time into the business?
Yeah, so our journey began, let's see, we both were in Miami working the 9-to-5. I was a registered dietitian. Javi was a physical therapist, and Javi got a great opportunity to move up here to Tampa and become partners in a physical therapy clinic. So still working a 9-to-5, but more at like the managerial level and managing the clinic. And so he kind of got me into this entrepreneurial world, and I saw what he was doing, and I decided to quit my 9-to-5 job and move up here to Tampa with him. And so, so that's kind of where it started. And I'll talk about my experience first, I guess. So when I first moved up here, I was like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to be like a full-time entrepreneur, like quit my 9-to-5 job. I really had no plan. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was like, I'm just going to make private practice work. Like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to hustle, I'm going to, be in this new city and just go for it. So like I said, I didn't really have a plan. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was destined to make it happen.
Yeah. And so I guess for me, as Alex was working with Greg and his business partner for a couple years. And before that, it was always when I got into this world at first, into the entrepreneurship marketing world, I was in my 3rd-year PT school. So I knew it was what I was going to do. It was just figuring out where I was going to go next. And so, early on, got a job with this company called South Florida Rehab in Miami. I set it up so that as a student, I was working half the time as a PT and half of the time working on their business and helping them grow their business as a student, which is awesome. And so that got me employed pretty quickly right after school. Then, like Marissa said, moved up to Tampa, worked on growing the clinics, and grew pretty quickly. We got to about 80 visits per week in about less than 8 months. And so that all went well. Got to the point where I was also with Marissa coaching some clients on the side, thanks to you and Will's help as well with that. And so we got to the point where we kind of hit this fork in the road and was like, this is a lot, right? Doing multiple things at 100% capacity, it's impossible. And so we had to make a decision on what it is that we wanted to focus all of our energy and time on. And we made that decision and decided to go full-time online to help now dietitians and nutrition coaches. And there's reasons behind why we went in that direction with their own businesses as well. So that's the backstory.
I love it. You guys are first of all, you're such a power couple. My goodness, the things that you guys have been able to accomplish together. So few partnerships can accomplish it, but so few marriages or relationships can handle that. And you guys have done a really good job with that. I remember once, Javi, we were sitting in a mastermind together, and I remember Javi comes in and he's talking through, I think at this time you were working on kind of the management side of the business in the PT clinic. And I remember you showed up with this like operations flow chart of like, dude, this is what we can do. And it just blew my mind because it wasn't like you had been in business forever. And I was like, this dude's just a freaking genius and such a like, dude, I'm going to go hit it. I've got this idea. I'm going to go make it happen. And you just do, which I have always just, I think Will has more of that propensity than I do. I'm much more like, hey, let me analyze things. Let me make sure I'm okay, right? I'm a little bit like slower to the gun, which hey, that's my skill set. But dude, one of your skill sets is, and I think that both of you have this of like, oh, we've got this vision. We're going to go hit it and we're going to go make it a reality. And I really commend you for that because there aren't a lot of people who can do that and actually execute well on it. And you guys have really nailed that down. But I'm curious because you've, from the outside, you guys look like the really confident, like, dude, I'm going to go make this happen entrepreneurially, and I'm just going to make it happen. I'm curious though, kind of behind the scenes for you, what were some of the concerns that you had as you left the stability of a nice paycheck in the corporate world or in the, employed world? What were some of the financial concerns you have as you moved full-time into the business or as you contemplated that leap?
Yeah, I think just I'll keep my answer short and then Marissa can go and then I'll go back. But I think we just had no idea what the heck we were doing when it came to managing business finances, because the fact is that we didn't learn how to do that in school. No one ever taught us that. And so personal finances, not that bad, right? Still some things you have to understand and learn. And there's a lot that we still don't know about that, obviously, but when it comes to the business, it's like a whole nother level. And so that was the main concern, I would say, is you also don't know what you don't know. So the main concern for me, at least personally, was I don't even know where to start. So luckily I have my lovely wife here who's much better at finances and numbers and all of that, because I'd probably still be lost. So.
Well, it was because of Alex and Will. They helped us get on the right path. And
for sure,
to kind of add to your point, I think that we have an interesting dynamic too, because we went from both being self-sufficient on our own. I was doing my own finances, like my personal finances, like almost my entire life. Like I've always been really good about my money, and Javi has been really good about his too. But now we're at this point, like, okay, we're living together. We're in this entrepreneurial world, and we were dating for a while, newly engaged. And it was like, okay, we're going to start combining our finances now. And like that added a whole new dynamic, because now it was two of us working together and figuring out, do we combine this? Do we have separate bank accounts? Like, how do we manage our money, both as business owners, but as a couple as well?
So I'm curious for you, because you're both so much like Will and I in terms of your business dynamic then, where it's like, one of you's the push, and one of you's the like, hey, let's look at the numbers, which I actually think it's really healthy to have a dynamic like that. And especially as you start to lean into your zones of strength, right? So I'm curious, Marissa, for you, where you felt really comfortable with numbers from a personal standpoint, what didn't you feel like you understood about business finances? Because you understood the personal side pretty well. And Javi, you mentioned that you did too. Marissa, for you, what was unclear or like of concern to you as you looked at business finances as you went full bore into this thing?
Yeah. So when it comes to finances in general, I mean, we have to start with the basics. In my mind, it's like, how much are you bringing in and how much are you spending, right? I was like, I'm doing that for my personal finances.
Yeah.
I can definitely do that for my business finances. And I know that I have to start there, right? I have to get clarity on what's coming in and what's going out. So I got that part, but I didn't know. I mean, biggest thing is like what to pay yourself, right? That I think that's like the biggest thing, because the goal is that, I was full-time trying to figure out this entrepreneur thing kind of on my own journey. And then Javi as well. And it's like, you know, if we want to be full-time entrepreneurs, like we need to have a steady income. And I don't want it to be like 1 month, you know, we didn't make any money in the business. So does that mean we don't pay ourselves? Like, how does that even work? And that was my biggest concern, is I need to know I'm getting a stable paycheck, or at least I have money coming in every single month.
And of course, me on the other side, I was like, don't worry, we're gonna crush it next month. We got this. We got enough savings where we can live off nothing, like peanuts, for like the next 3 months. Like, it's all right. We're gonna do well.
Isn't it funny, that balance of like, well, I know I have the vision, I see it, I see other people doing it, I'm in coaching groups, so I believe I can do it. And on the other side, there's that pragmatic, like, well, what's going to happen if we don't, or well, how are we going to survive during that? It's such an interesting balance, and it's so funny because Will and I are very much the same. So I'm curious, as we started kind of diving into the numbers together and figuring out clarity standpoint, like, cool, how do I pay myself? I'm curious. And I know it's been a little while since we actually, you know, dove into those things together, but I'm curious, as you think back, what were some of the things you felt like you learned or got out of working together on finances that are serving you now?
Yeah.
And so I know that's a big question to put you on the spot with no, you know, no prep, but like, what are some of the things that you're like, I'm so glad I figured that piece out?
Yeah, I have two big things for me personally. The first was, I absolutely loved your spreadsheets. You gave us a couple spreadsheets in the beginning, and to this day, I still use them. Like, I've tweaked little things here and there, but I still use the spreadsheets. I love doing everything by hand. Like, I really love numbers and having a good understanding of where we're at. Like, I can tell you to this day how much we've spent on software or legal fees or coaching or affiliates, like to the penny, which is awesome. So I think that has been really helpful, just getting those spreadsheets and looking at the numbers, right? A lot of people, they're so like, you know, I don't want to look at my numbers. I don't want to look at my numbers. And it's like, if you're scared to look at your numbers, that is the exact reason why you need to be looking at your numbers. So that was number one, was the spreadsheets, and just like looking at the numbers literally on a weekly basis, and having a really good tabs of where we're at financially. And then I think the second biggest thing for me was something that you all called a strike number. And it was like, what is the minimum that you need to live to pay all of your primary expenses, your mortgage, your air conditioning, your cell phone, you know, all food, water, shelter, all of that stuff? What is the minimum that you need? And how can you hit that? Like, that's the first goal, right? We got to hit that first. So we literally had to sit down, and we took pen and paper, and we were like, rent, food, water, electricity. And because you had set us up with those spreadsheets, I knew on average how much we were spending every single month. And it was really easy for us to calculate that strike number. And once I got clarity on that, it was so much easier to see the bigger picture, because it's not as much money as you think that you need to truly live off of every single month. And it was so eye-opening to be like, oh, that's it? That's all we need to bring home? Oh, this is so much more doable than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Just one thing I'll add to that I think is so key. When it comes to, because you also helped us with having an idea of, you know, the hedge and essentially, you know, health insurance and all these other things that we have to have in place to make sure that we're protected. And so one of the things that it's so interesting, because I didn't do this myself, but now hearing Marissa say that and seeing other people do it, it's like a lot of people are fearful of that. How do I make as much? How do I replace my income so I can leave my job, right? Because that's what we help people do now. And so it's so interesting, because it's like a lot of people don't even know what that number is. And the second thing is, a lot of people are scared of, oh, well, what about health insurance and benefits? But they don't even do the work to figure out what that would even look like. Right. And a lot of people are surprised that, oh, wait a second, it's actually not that much. Like for us, it was actually less than a W-2 employee. And so it's just like having that awareness gives you so much clarity on what do we actually have to do from here. And it makes you feel so much better, because you actually, like Marissa said, realize many times, oh, that's it. Like, we can do this, you know, and it gives you that confidence that a lot of times people don't have. They have that fear because they just don't know. And so when you know, feel a lot better, and you can make better decisions moving forward.
It's so interesting that you both bring that up, because I've seen that in myself too. When I don't have clarity on something, I'll do everything I can to avoid doing that thing.
Yeah.
Versus when you feel like, oh, I know that I can do this and I know what to go do. It just makes it so much easier to execute on it. So that's why the clarity piece is such a big pillar of what we do with people. And I love that you both got that clarity so easily. And shout out to Brad Gibb from Cashflow Tactics on the strike number idea. It's something that, I think a lot of people don't stop to think, well, okay, what if I were to just be a little bit careful with my personal finances for a bit as I'm making a transition? And it's not like we have to live on ramen, y'all, right? But at least let's look at, well, okay, what does it actually cost me to live? And then what is that demand of my business, right? And a lot of times business owners come in thinking, I got to be bringing home 10K a month right now as a business owner. It's like, do you actually need 10K to live on? No, you don't. Could I do 5K? Yeah. Okay, sweet. Well, my business looks a lot simpler than if it only needs to kick off 5K to me. And so I love that simplicity. And so cool that you guys have used that and kept going with it. By the way, it just does my heart good to know that you're still using the spreadsheets. Thank you, Marissa. I've updated them like, I don't know. I've actually simplified them a ton since you guys had it. So I'll have to get you the new version if you want, if you've got something that works wonderful. But sometimes people don't like looking at the numbers that, like you mentioned, Marissa. I'm curious for you, Javi, do you have that same like, ooh, I don't really want to have to look at the numbers? I'm just curious in your partnership now, because Marissa, obviously you love looking at them. Javi, what's your feeling on it? And you can be totally honest, man. I'm not fishing.
Yeah.
Like, what's your honest feel about looking at the numbers in your business at this point from a finances standpoint?
I like looking at what's coming in.
All right.
I knew that was going to be the answer.
I like looking at what's coming in and pushing to have more come in. And then Marissa just tells me, hey, we're either spending too much on this, we have to look at our numbers so we can cut down, or hey, this is what's going on behind the scenes that we have to talk about and think about. And so she, I don't want to say she brings me back to reality, but she does keep me aware of what is happening on that end. And then when there is maybe a red flag or maybe a yellow flag, she'll give me that warning sign. It's like, hey, listen, like this is something that we have to talk about. This is something that we have to look at, and maybe get some either consulting or some help in like what is the next best move based on where we're currently at before we make another investment or purchase decision. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's like, hey, I don't want to be in the day-to-day of it, but if something does come up, it's like, yes, please tell me what's going on. Like I have to know, obviously.
Right.
So that's kind of what, right?
Yeah.
That's where we're at. Yeah.
Good. I love it. Well, as we wrap up here, I would love to know, for the people who are on the beginning edge of, and maybe they're far along in terms of their business journey, but they're at the spot where it's like, I don't really know my numbers. And we even talk with a lot of people who are making a lot of money, but like you, Javi, it's like, I don't want to look at anything else other than what I'm bringing in. But they realize that whatever they're doing right now maybe isn't working. I want you to give them just a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel of, well, what does it look like on the other side of this? Now that you guys have this figured out, what has it allowed you to do in your life or business that you think wouldn't be there if you hadn't figured this financial piece out? Curious now, just kind of looking at life like, hey, what do we have now that we wouldn't have if we hadn't addressed the finances?
Yeah, so good. Such a good question.
One big thing for me is like this house, for real. Like we were living in a 630 something square foot apartment when we started this journey. Was it like 2 years ago? 2 years ago. And we had zero idea what we were doing with our finances. And then we started working with you and Will, got all the clarity that we needed, made leaps and bounds in our business, invested in mentorship and all that stuff. But really having the clarity on our numbers made us feel really confident in being able to go out and search for a house and know what we can afford and, and all that. So I think, this house was huge. And second of all is stability. Like we have a very stable paycheck that pays for our bills plus some extra fun cash. So feel very safe and secure with that. We are now W-2s in our own business, so that's great. We've moved to the S Corp status, so that's really cool. We we're not guessing anymore. We know exactly what we're doing with our numbers. Something really cool that happened was we just paid our taxes for last year, and we had so much money left over. We were able to do an owner's draw. That was really nice. Quarterly taxes. It just feel really good about our numbers. And we actually have saved up so much money from last year that we have enough money to pay for our taxes for this year coming up. So we don't really need to dump any more money into that tax bucket if we don't need to. So, things are moving really well on the back end. We know where everything's at, and just feel really good and secure with what we're able to pay ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know what else to add to that. She took everything I was going to say, so that's perfect.
It is amazing. Well, I promised you guys that we keep this short. I just really want to thank you for coming on and painting the picture of, hey, what can happen when you really get a handle on this stuff. And it's not like you snap your fingers and in 3 months, everything's totally different, right? And that's why I really wanted to talk with you guys, because it's been a couple of years now since you've been implementing this stuff, a year and a half or so. And it's really cool to see that 1 or 2 degree shift in how you're approaching the business. And if you follow that line down the road, where does that end you? Where does that put you at the end of that road versus if you had just stayed on a path where you're like, I don't know numbers, I'm just going to keep my head down, grind, and just make more sales, and that'll solve everything. And I think that's it's such a testament to what you guys have done, because you have that drive, you have the grind, but then you add in a layer of a little bit of organization, some clarity, and some principles for making decisions that are, financially smart. And it puts you in a spot where you guys are at right now, where a ton of people want to be. And so I just want to give you massive pat on the back, because you guys have actually implemented all this stuff. You're living it, and you get to, enjoy the spoils of it now. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on here and giving people behind the scenes look into how this gets implemented in a coaching business. We'll end with this. If you were talking to someone who's a coach and they're like, I'm really nervous to actually address my finances. I feel like I haven't done a good job. Maybe I even have a bunch of back taxes that I haven't paid. And it's just like, I feel like it's better to just not even address it because it stresses me out so much. What would you say to someone who's in that spot right now?
First thing that comes to mind is it's going to feel like a weight off your shoulders. It's not going to be fun to do in the beginning. Like, it is going to take some work. You may even have to recruit some help, right? Some mentors or some coaches to help you get everything organized and get some clarity on it. But once you do, there will never be that weight on your shoulders, that pressure of finances anymore, just because you have so much clarity and you know exactly what to do to hit the goals that you want to achieve. So it's really just, it's a relief. And especially in today's world, everything is going up, right? The cost of living, houses, like everything, numbers just keep going up, up, up. So if you don't look at your numbers, that pressure that you have on yourself of like, oh, I don't know what's going on in my business, it's very stressful, that it's just going to compound over time. So just take that weight off your shoulders, get clarity and get direction.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think at the end of the day, right, getting that strong foundation is super important, because like Marissa said, if you have that strong foundation, one that's not made out of sand, because if it's made out of sand, right, everything's just going to crumble, and you're building this business on a foundation of sand, eventually it's going to be torn apart. And so you want to have that strong foundation made of concrete, so that as you build, you can grow and the sky's the limit, but at the same time, you don't have that weight on your shoulders. You feel less stressed, you have more clarity, you feel more confident in your decisions that you're making daily. And that will allow you to actually grow and scale even faster than what is currently happening right now. And that all starts with having the courage to look at those numbers, having the courage to, if you don't know what the heck's going on with your numbers, to find someone to help you, and being okay with that. And again, like Alex said, like, it's not something that's going to shift overnight, but as you take those baby steps, day in and day out, 2 years later, life could look completely different. And most importantly, you won't feel as stressed. So super, super important.
I love that. Hey, thank you guys so much. Where can someone find out about your business, your coaching, what you guys do if they're interested?
Yeah, so we are on Facebook, so you can look us both up, Javier A. Carlin and Marissa Carlin. We do have a Facebook group. It's called Business Growth Secrets for dietitians and nutrition coaches. And we're also on Instagram at Healthcare Business University.
Yeah, what a cool name. I love that. Thank you guys so much. And I'm just so super proud of you. Appreciate your time, and we'll catch y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.